it will just record it right there. So yeah, just leave it. Yeah, start there, but it will be recorded. So I can go now. Hello everyone, sorry for the slightly late start today. Thank you for joining me. For you who haven't listened before, my name is Naomi and I am a nutritionist here at Nosh. Okay, so carrying on the theme of digestive disorders from last week where we talked about IBS, the subject of today's webinar is going to be bloating. Now, I've chosen bloating because this is probably the most common complaint I hear from clients. And it's something that many of us put up with day in and day out. I am.
I don't know how to unmute it. Oh, this is not happening. Oh, there you go. Start again, yeah?
Hi everyone, sorry, we're having a few technical issues this afternoon. I don't think you'll have heard me yet, so I'm just going to start over. My name's Naomi and I'm the nutritionist here at Nosh. Okay, so today carrying on from the theme of digestive disorders from last week when we talked about IBS, the subject of today's webinar is going to be bloating. Bloating is probably the most common complaint I hear from clients. It may not always be the main reason why they come to see me, but it's very, very often something that they suffer with and is impacting on their everyday life. And it's something that actually many of us put up with day in and day out. Bloating can affect how we feel, it can affect our body image, it can affect what clothes we wear. How many of you have decided not to go out on an evening out for dinner, out on a night out because you feel bloated and sluggish? I would guess quite a lot of you. I know amongst my friends it's something that happens a lot. Any way you look at it, it's really not fun. And it's not something that we want to have to put up with. And more importantly than that even, bloating is a sign that not all is well inside. And really for that reason more than anything else means it's something that shouldn't be ignored. So what I'd really like to address today is what may be causing your bloating if you're suffering and what you can do about it. Now, unfortunately, the answer is not black and white. I'm not going to give you a simple solution. It's not simply a case of stopping eating wheat, although for some people this can be beneficial. But there are many possible reasons for bloating, and what I'm going to do is discuss some of these in a little bit of detail. In summary, bloating is a sign that there's a digestive imbalance going on, but the potential underlying causes behind this imbalance can be numerous. So what is bloating? Well, what's going on inside the body? It's an uncomfortable feeling of the abdomen when your abdomen feels full and tight. It often comes accompanied with visible distension, so it can almost look like a pregnant stomach. And it's often accompanied with flatulence, burping, and sometimes pain. It usually occurs anytime from immediately after eating to sometimes 1 to 2 hours after a meal, and for some people it can last for many hours. It can make your clothes feel tight and it can just generally make you feel quite horrible. So bloating occurs generally as a result of the production of gas by bacteria which are inside our digestive tract, And what the bacteria is doing is it's feeding on food that has been eaten, but rather than being digested and absorbed, this food is sitting in the gut and fermenting. So essentially what's occurring is that you're not digesting your food properly and you're not absorbing the nutrients from your food. Long-term digestive issues can also lead to many other problems, so things like immune conditions, allergies and hormonal imbalances. So although many of us accept bloating as just a normal part of life, if it's occurring often and if it's causing you discomfort, then it really should not be ignored. So what I want to do is discuss some of the reasons that may be behind your bloating. This list is not going to be exhaustive. However, hopefully what it will do is get you to think a little bit more about what may be causing you to feel this way and the sorts of things you can do to help address it. So firstly, I'm going to talk about stomach acid. Now, antacids, which you will have heard of, are one of the most common medications taken for digestive disorders, and they're taken for digestive issues that are thought to be caused by high stomach acid. However, what most people don't know is that actually low levels of stomach acid can actually also be problematic. So, does your bloating occur immediately after eating? Is it accompanied by burping, bad breath and flatulence? Do you get a feeling of extreme fullness after eating? And is it worse when you eat a protein-heavy meal? And have you noticed that you have undigested food in your stools? Now, if any of these symptoms sound familiar, then it's likely that your bloating may possibly be a result of low stomach acid production. So what does this mean? Well, the production of stomach acid is an essential part of the digestive process. Stomach acid has several really important roles. It helps with the breakdown of protein in your food. It stimulates the release of other digestive enzymes that we need to digest our food. And it also provides a hostile acidic environment in the digestive tract to make sure the pathogens and bacteria and harmful bacteria and yeast cannot survive. What low stomach acid means is that the protein in your food is not being broken down properly, and this means that it can ferment in the digestive tract, causing irritation and the production of gas and bloating. So if you relate with some of the symptoms I described and you suspect you may have low stomach acid, then what can you do about it? Well, firstly, it's really important to note that stress can have a huge impact on the production of stomach acid. And for this reason, actually the environment in which you eat in is really very important. So many of us, when we're working in offices, have very busy days, they're eating on the go, we're eating at our desk. Now, what you ideally need to do is take time away from your desk to eat. So find somewhere where you're feeling very relaxed and calm and sit down and eat your meal and take time over it. So you need to make sure you're eating slowly, chewing your food really, really well. If you're swallowing food before it's been properly broken down in the mouth, which is very easy to do, then that's just putting an added pressure on your digestive system. It's really also important not to eat on the move. So really try to sit down and have a period of relaxation for about 10-15 minutes before you even start eating your meal, and then take it nice and slowly. In terms of what you eat, you should reduce and potentially cut out for a while your intake of red meat, as this can be really, really hard to digest. And also spicy, fatty and fried foods, if your stomach acid is low, can be really, really difficult to digest and could actually worsen symptoms. What can also be beneficial is to have a spoon of organic apple cider vinegar in a glass of water, and you should take this either before or after your meal. And what this can do is it can just help naturally increase the levels of acid in your stomach and help with the process of digestion. Another way to take it is to mix it up with some olive oil and have it as as a dressing over your salad or vegetables. In very rare cases, it may cause some burning or discomfort when you take apple cider vinegar. If this is the case for you, then just stop taking it immediately. Okay, so we've looked at stomach acid. Now I want to look at low digestive enzymes. And bloating can be a sign that you're not producing enough of these digestive enzymes. These are really, really crucial for breaking down our food. So what can cause a low production of these? Well, a low level of stomach acid can actually have a knock-on effect of low digestive enzymes. And what you're going to see actually is everything I've discussed today is generally quite interlinked. Stress and certain food intolerances can also decrease our production of digestive enzymes. The result of these are low is that undigested food is moving through our bowels, and this can ferment and lead to uncomfortable bloating. So what can we do to boost our levels of these digestive enzymes? Well, there are several foods which have naturally high levels of these enzymes. So these include sprouted seeds, grains, legumes, and then pineapples, bananas, and papayas. The enzymes papain and bromelain, which are found naturally in papaya and pineapple, can actually also be taken as a dietary supplement if you're not always getting these through food, and for some these can be really beneficial. Not necessarily always a popular choice, but adding fermented foods to your diet can be really beneficial in helping to boost your levels of digestive enzymes. Things like sauerkraut, miso, and soy sauce. Miso soup is quite a nice, easy lunch option you can have, and soy sauce is something that's quite easy you can add into stir fries. When eating fruit and vegetables, try and always go for fruit and vegetables that are very ripe, and these just naturally have a higher enzyme content than the younger fruits and veg. And then just a note on drinking liquid consumption. If you try not to drink liquids with meals and rather have it in between meals, then it just means that a lot of water can potentially dilute your digestive enzymes, making it harder for you to digest your food. So just try not to have a large glass of water with your food, and maybe just eat, wait a little while, and then start your water intake. Okay, so that's digestive enzymes. Next, I'd like to talk about dysbiosis, which means an imbalance of bacteria. So, as you may know, your digestive tract is colonized by both good bacteria, which is we call probiotic bacteria, but also by potentially harmful bad bacteria. And a healthy digestive tract contains high levels of these good bacteria. However, if levels of these fall, then problems such as bloating can occur. So what can lead to low levels of this good bacteria? Well, poor diet, illness, and stress again can all cause this imbalance. And in which case you need to do things to help replenish your levels of these good bacteria. And as I said, these are absolutely key for a good, healthy digestive system. Also, a staggering 90% of your immune system is actually based within your digestive tract. So by keeping your levels of good probiotic bacteria at healthy levels means that you're not also boosting your digestion, but also keeping your immune system healthy and helping your body to fight disease. So really important. So what can you do? Well, most importantly, I would advise pretty much everyone to be taking a good quality probiotic supplement. If you're going to go to a health food shop, then ask advice on which one you should choose when choosing this. But as guidance, it should be multi-strain and should contain at least 5 billion bacteria per capsule. And a probiotic should be taken first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. And this is just the best way to help boost your levels of good bacteria. You can also do this through diet by including some probiotic natural yogurt in your diet every day. And just always make sure this is an unsweetened version. So it needs to be sugar-free, just plain natural yogurt, and on the label it will say probiotic. So try and get some of this in your diet every day, and this is really going to help as well. You also should up your intake of prebiotic foods, and these are foods that the probiotics feed on in your digestive tract. So these are things like leeks, onions and garlic, Oats are a really good source, as are beans and lentils and chickpeas. Asparagus and sweet potato are always also really good sources. Just a word of caution with these foods, they just need to be, if they're not currently in your diet, then you just want to be introducing them nice and slowly, as if the levels of bacteria in your digestive system are a bit unbalanced at the moment, then they may themselves cause a bit of bloating. So these are really fantastic foods, but you just want to introduce them nice and slowly. You also want to be cutting down your intake of sugar and sugar-rich foods, as what sugar does is it just feeds the bad bacteria. Just a note on that white refined carbohydrates, so things like white bread and white pasta or white rice, are a large part simply just sugar. So when eating these foods, you should always be opting for the whole grain options. Just a note on this, you may be particularly likely to have a poor balance of gut bacteria if you have recently been on antibiotics or have a history of antibiotic use. Now, antibiotics are great at what they do, they kill bacteria. However, they are unable to discriminate between good bacteria and bad bacteria. So many of our good probiotic bacteria are actually destroyed by antibiotic treatments, and for this reason must be quickly replenished. So if you're experiencing bloating, lots of bloating, and you've recently been on antibiotics, or you've been on them a lot over the last few years, then I really strongly suggest you take a course of probiotics. You need to be doing this for really a couple of months at least. And I mean, as a standard course of action, I would actually recommend anyone who's been on antibiotics to always straight away take a course of probiotics, just to help replenish those levels of good bacteria, to keep the digestion working well, and to keep your immune system nice and boosted. An imbalance of bacteria in the gut can also lead to the overgrowth of the pathogenic yeast Candida, and one of the main symptoms of an overgrowth of this yeast is bloating. Now, Candida or Candida exists in all of our bodies, and at normal levels it's actually completely harmless. However, if it is allowed to overgrow, it becomes toxic in the body, and this can lead to a whole syndrome of symptoms. So in addition to bloating, other symptoms of Candida overgrowth include a white furry tongue, feeling worse after eating sugar and fruit, feeling really grotty in damp and muggy places, fatigue, brain fog, poor memory, sometimes muscle ache, and weight gain. If you expect you may have Candida, there is a whole protocol you can follow to eradicate this, and this is actually a whole another webinar topic in itself, really. It's something I will be covering in the next few weeks. However, to summarise, there are certain foods that should be cut out in order to rid the body of this overgrowth. These include alcohol, all fruit and dried fruit, all grains, all sugar, vinegar and mushrooms. We do offer a really specialised and really fantastic anti-Candida programme here at Nosh. So if this is something you feel you may be suffering from, if you relate to the symptoms I described, then please do get in touch. It's something we can chat through with you and see if there's anything we can do to help. Okay, so next I just want to talk a little bit about food intolerances. If your bloating occurs only when you eat a certain type of food, then it is very likely that you may have a slight intolerance to that food, and really you should just try cutting it out from your diet. For example, gluten for many can be really hard to digest, especially if our digestive function is compromised. So maybe because your digestive function is down, for either you've got low stomach acid, your gut bacteria is out of balance, you've got low digestive enzymes. For this reason, it may mean that a certain food is your body's just finding it too hard to digest. So gluten is quite a common one, and this is why many people find it beneficial to cut out bread, and that really helps their bloating. But that's not going to be fair for everyone. The good news is that if you do remove what seems to be a problematic food from your diet and then take some steps through diet to help improve your digestive function, then at a later date you may be able to reintroduce that food and be actually fine with it. If it helps to identify problematic foods, then I would always recommend just for a short while keeping a food and symptom diary, and this can just help you identify whether there's any trends and anything that might be contributing to your symptoms. I just want to talk about a little bit about intolerance to lactose. Lactose is the sugar found in milk and dairy products, and lactose intolerance is actually quite a common cause of bloating. Now, lactose is a disaccharide, and what is meant by that is it's composed of two sugars which are bound together, and once it's eaten, for the lactose to be absorbed, it needs to be split into two smaller sugars, and this is performed in our bodies by an enzyme called lactase, which is present in the small intestine. The problem is if the levels of the lactase enzyme are low or even absent, which is the case in many people, and it means that the body just cannot digest and absorb the lactose. What happens in these cases is that it reaches the large intestine and it is fermented and it produces gas and bloating. In this case, it's normally accompanied by sort of a stomach rumbling and diarrhea. So if you're experiencing these symptoms, then lactose intolerance is something you may consider. If you suspect you may have a lactose intolerance, then this is something you can be tested for. We do offer this here at Nosh. Alternatively, you could try cutting out lactose completely from your diet. So you would need to cut out all dairy products, all milks, yogurts, cheeses, and see if there's any improvement in your symptoms. So lastly, I just want to briefly mention gut motility, which basically means the rate at which food is moving through your digestive tract. Now, if food is moving very slowly and sitting for long periods of time in your bowels, then this is when it can ferment and cause gas and bloating. So what can you do to help improve the motility of your gut? Well, most importantly, by drinking enough water to keep things moving. So ensuring you have at least your 2 litres a day, and make sure that you're sipping this nice and regularly throughout the course of the day. Secondly, it's really important to make sure you're getting enough magnesium in your diet, as what magnesium is it's a natural relaxant for the muscles of your digestive tract, and so therefore it can help to aid the movement of food through your gut. So magnesium rich foods include green leafy vegetables, nuts and seeds such as peppermint and sesame. And thirdly, you need to be just making sure you've got good sources of soluble fibre to keep things moving. So these are those prebiotic foods that I talked about earlier. Okay, so I've discussed some of the key problems that may be occurring that could be leading to your bloating. As I said, this is not necessarily all of them, but it's food for thought and giving you something to think about. And these are all quite common issues that could well be underlying the bloating you're experiencing. So now to finish off, there are just a few other bits of dietary advice I want to give you that may help to ease your symptoms. Firstly, I just want to talk about fruit. If you suffer from digestive problems and have a lot of bloating, then I would recommend that you don't eat fruit alongside other foods. Just to explain this, different foods that we eat are digested at different rates, and fruit requires virtually no digestive action, and so it generally passes through your digestive system very quickly. However, this can only happen if the stomach is empty. So when eaten in combination with other foods, the rate at which the fruit is digested slows, because it's slowed down in accordance with the rate at which the other food you've eaten it with is digested at. And this can cause the fruit to sit in the stomach and ferment, and this is when gas and bloating can occur. So my recommendation would be to avoid eating fruit either with or just after your meals. Eat it, say, about half an hour before a meal, or then otherwise after a meal you want to wait at least 2 hours before you have a piece of fruit. Fennel, I just want to mention fennel as it can be really, really powerful at helping to ease bloating. A really good tip actually over the festive period, if you're going out a lot, going to lots of office parties, dinner parties, and eating kind of quite rich fatty foods that you're maybe not used to having in your diet, then it can be really useful just to have some fennel seeds. Just pop them in your handbag and you can just chew on these after a meal. And what this can do is it can just help boost digestion and help ease bloating. If you've ever been out to Indian restaurants, this is actually quite a common thing they do. They give you fennel seeds after a meal, and it really can be quite beneficial. Alternatively, you can buy fennel tea bags as well, so have a fennel tea after your meals, and this can really help. Peppermint tea too can be really soothing, or even a few drops of peppermint oil in a glass of water. And fresh ginger tea can also be really good for bloating. I would also avoid chewing gum, as if you're chewing gum, this can cause air to enter the digestive tract, and this can lead to bloating, as can bolting your food down too quickly. So if you're not taking time to chew your food and you're just bolting it down, if you're on the go in a rush, then you can be swallowing air, and this can actually lead to bloating as well. So really take time to savour and enjoy your food. There are also a few particular foods that can lead to bloating in some individuals. These include beans and pulses, and also cruciferous vegetables, so things like broccoli, cauliflower and cabbage. All of these foods are really, really nutritious, have loads of nutritional value, lots of vitamins, minerals, but for some, unfortunately, they can be quite difficult to digest. So that you're not missing out on the goodness of these foods, then one thing I recommend you do is just cook them down really, really well, so almost to the point where they're almost like a mush, and then blend them up into a soup, and that way you're still getting the nutritional benefit from them, but hopefully you'll be finding it a lot easy to digest, because they're in a much more easily digestible form. Okay, so that really brings me to the end of today's webinar. As always, if you have any questions about anything that I've discussed today, then please do pop me an email. My email address is nutritionist@noshdetox.com. Otherwise, I look forward to speaking to you again next week. Okay, have a good afternoon. Thanks.